From Pacifica, this is Democracy Now!
I watched as a young woman's rib was broken, as she hyperventilated, convulsed, and seizured in the middle of the street.
Today, an exclusive interview with that young woman, Cecily McMillan. She was among the 73 people arrested on the 6-month anniversary of Occupy Wall Street. Are the police becoming increasingly violent against peaceful protesters? We'll also speak with Cecily's attorney. Then this weekend marks the 25th anniversary of ACTA, the AIDS coalition to unleash power.
Let the whole earth hear us now. We beg, we pray, we demand that this epidemic end.
How to Survive a Plague is a new documentary that tells the remarkable history of AIDS activism and how it changed America. We'll speak with its director, David France, and Peter Staley, one of the longest AIDS survivors in the country. All that and more coming up. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. U.S. soldier Robert Bales is expected to be charged today for the massacre of Afghan civilians earlier this month. Bales will face 17 counts of murder, reflecting the revised death toll figure of 17 civilian dead, up from 16. Bales is being held at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, following his removal from Afghanistan in the days after the shooting. Afghan human rights activist Nader Naderi criticized the U.S. military's decision to try Bales outside of Afghanistan.
It would have been much more better if the trial would have happened here in Afghanistan, or at least a close observation of human rights organizations, both internationally and national human rights organizations, or, in addition, the representative of victims to observe the trial.
Thousands of people rallied in Sanford, Florida, Thursday, in the largest rally to date to demand justice in the killing of Trayvon Martin. The 17-year-old African-American Trayvon Martin was shot dead while walking in a gated community last month. He was unarmed. Martin's shooter, George Zimmerman, has not been arrested or charged. Martin's parents, Sabrina Fulton and Tracy Martin, addressed the crowd.
I stand before you today not knowing how I'm walking right now because my heart hurts for my son. Trayvon is my son. Trayvon is your son. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all your support. It means a lot to me and my family. We really appreciate it. We want justice for Trayvon.
Yeah. Without you all, we really have no support. You are our strength. You guys are what keep us going. Yeah. If Trayvon would have been alive, Trayvon would have been at this rally. That's right. Trayvon was a people's person. Yeah. He didn't deserve to die. Yeah. And I pledge I will not let my son die in vain. Yeah.
More than 8,000 people rallied. Many were wearing hooded sweatshirts like the one Trayvon wore when he was killed. Also speaking to the crowd was the veteran civil rights activist Reverend Al Sharpton.
Trayvon could have been any one of our sons. Trayvon could have been any one of us. Trayvon represents a reckless disregard for our lives that we've seen too long. And we come to tell you tonight, enough is enough. We are tired of going to jail for nothing and others going home for something. Zimmerman should have been arrested that night.
Meanwhile, the police chief in Sanford has announced he's temporarily stepping down following an outpouring of criticism for failing to arrest or charge George Zimmerman. Sanford Police Chief Bill Lee's decision comes one day after city officials gave him a vote of no confidence. Lee, however, has maintained his departure will only be temporary. Hours later, the local state attorney, Norman Wolfinger, recused himself from the case. President Obama has made a swing through western states to promote his administration's so-called all-of-the-above energy policy. On Thursday, Obama appeared in Cushing, Oklahoma, to announce his support for TransCanada to build the southern leg of its Keystone oil pipeline from Oklahoma to Texas. The move comes 2 months after Obama rejected the Canada to Texas Keystone XL pipeline after large protests by environmental groups.
There's a bottleneck right here because we can't get enough of the oil to our refineries fast enough. And if we could, then we would be able to increase our oil supplies at a time when they're needed as much as possible. Now, right now, a company called TransCanada has applied to build a new pipeline to speed more oil from Cushing to state-of-the-art refineries down in the Gulf Coast. And today I'm directing my administration to cut through the red tape, break through the bureaucratic hurdles, and make this project a priority. To go ahead and get it done.
In his remarks, President Obama boasted his administration has authorized enough gas pipelines to encircle the earth.
Under my administration, America is producing more oil today than at any time in the last 8 years. That's important to know. Over the last 3 years, I've directed my administration to open up millions of acres for gas and oil exploration across 23 different states. We're opening up more than 75% of our potential oil resources offshore. We've quadrupled the number of operating rigs to a record high. We've added enough new oil and gas pipeline to encircle the earth and then some.
The Justice Department has extended the authorized time period for government intelligence agencies to retain information about U.S. citizens, even those without known connection to terrorism cases. The Washington Post reports that changes will allow the National Counterterrorism Center to keep the information for up to 5 years. The guideline marks a sharp departure from the current rule, which bars intelligence officials from keeping information on U.S. citizens or residents unless there's a clear link to terrorism. The UN Security Council has condemned the military coup in Mali and called for the restoration of civilian rule. Renegade soldiers ousted Mali President Amadou Toumani Touré, citing his handling of a rebellion by a militia in the northern part of Mali. The soldiers say they've suspended the constitution and imposed a military curfew. Touré is reportedly being held in military barracks. United Nations Under-Secretary General for Political Affairs Len Pasco called for Touré's immediate release.
There's nothing particularly good that can come out of overturning an elected president about a month or 6 weeks before a new election is supposed to take place, and putting the two main candidates in jail, or not in jail necessarily, but in the military barracks and holding them. So that this clearly is not the direction that we want to see West Africa or any other country to go in. We believe that strengthening democracy is absolutely critical, and we hope that I think there's strong consensus on that issue.
In Syria, activists say more than 40 people were killed Thursday in the Assad regime's crackdown on the year-long uprising. Most of the killings reportedly occurred in the provinces of Idlib and Homs. The United Nations Human Rights Council has ordered a new investigation into how Israeli settlements are infringing on Palestinian rights. The U.S. was the lone country to oppose the probe. This week, the Israeli human rights group B'Tselem reported a sharp rise in the number of Palestinian civilians killed by Israeli forces in the occupied West Bank. Of 105 Palestinians killed in the Gaza Strip, 37 were confirmed to be civilians. The top U.S. commander in Afghanistan is predicting the U.S. needs to prepare for heavy fighting during the upcoming year. General John Allen made the comment under questioning from Republican Senator John McCain.
So basically, you have no opinion here at the end of March of 2012 as to what our military presence would be in 2013.
Well, my opinion at this particular juncture, but it's not my recommendation.
What is your opinion at this particular juncture?
My opinion is that we will need significant combat power in 2013, sir.
Like 68,000?
68,000 is a good going-in number, sir, but I owe the President some analysis on that.
Tens of thousands of students rallied in the Canadian province of Quebec on Thursday in the largest demonstration so far in a strike against planned tuition hikes. The Canadian government plan would increase tuition by 75% over the next 5 years. The largest rally came in Montreal, where a massive crowd of around 200,000 students took to the streets. More than 130 protesters were arrested in Vermont Thursday, calling for the immediate closure of Vermont Yankee nuclear power plant. The Vermont Yankee state license expired this week under a vote from state lawmakers to shut it down last year. But the plant is still in operation after its parent company, Entergy Corporation, won an extension from the Nuclear Regulatory Commission and later a federal court injunction. The Vermont Yankee plant is one of the oldest in the country and has had a series of radioactive tritium leaks. In addition to the 130 arrested at Vermont Yankee, activists were also arrested in parallel rallies outside Entergy offices in White Plains, New York, and its headquarters in New Orleans. And the civil rights attorney John Payton has died at the age of 65. The president and director counsel of the NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund, the National Law Journal, recently named Payton one of the most influential civil rights attorneys of the past decade. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.